الرحيم. راعي أصحاب اسمة الله وبركاته في جامعة الملك فيصل شمر الذي يحظى عزيز التعاونات ومربي التحقيق مين حفظه مشاركة في الأعمال والباحثين في القطاعين الحكومي والرفيقه والمغرب، وقبلها عقدت في دولة كازاخستان وسلطنة عمان وتونس ودولة الإمارات المتحدة، ولأول مرة به عدة من الشعوب، وما تمثله من أهمية اقتصادية، فإن المؤتمر يهدف إلى مناقشة التطورات والمستجدات العلمية والبحثات الغذائية وطرق المحافظة على صحة الإبل وسلامتها من الأمراض وتحسين تكاثرها والتعرف على أفضل السبل لرفع كفاءتها الإنتاجية، وذلك تعزيزاً لمكانتها الاستراتيجية كثروة مهمة تسهم في النهوض بالاقتصاد العالمي وتحقيق الأمن الغذائي. حضورنا الكرام، بفضل من الله وتوفيقه بلغ عدد المشاركين في أعمال المؤتمر أكثر من 300 مشارك، ولقد تنوعت البحوث المقدمة في المؤتمر في عدة محاور رئيسية اشتملت على أهم المجالات التالية: التطورات الحديثة في منتجات الإبل، صحة الإبل وسلامتها من الأمراض ومسبباتها، التنمية المستدامة للإبل وتحسين طرق تكاثرها، تعزيز مكانة الإبل الاقتصادية. كما تضمنت أعمال المؤتمر العديد من الورش التدريبية المتخصصة في الإبل، منها ورشة عمل حول تحاليل الجينوم في الإبل، ورشة عمل حول أمراض الإبل المعدية. وفي معاليه الكريمة للمؤتمر، والشكر موصول لمعالي رئيس الجامعة الدكتور محمد بن عبد العزيز العوهلي لدعمه لملف استضافة المؤتمر وعلى احتضانه جميع أعماله، ولسعادة الدكتور ماجد بن عادي الشمري وكيل الجامعة للدراسات العليا والبحث العلمي على دعمه ومتابعته. كما أتقدم بشكر إدارتها الأستاذ فهاد بن سليمان الفهاد لدعمها استضافة المؤتمر واحتضان كافة أعماله. وكذلك الشكر لجميع الجهات الراعية والمشاركة في المعرض المصاحب للمؤتمر، وهي وزارة البيئة والمياه والزراعة، المركز الوطني للوقاية من الآفات النباتية والأمراض الحيوانية ومكافحتها مركز وقاء، وهيئة أبو ظبي للزراعة والسلامة الغذائية، شركة ماس، وشركة سيفا. تمر كلية الطب البيطري بجامعة الملك فيصل على دعمها ورعايتها العلمية للمؤتمر. كما لا يفوتني أن أتور صلاح بن عبد العزيز الشامي لمشاركتها في تنظيم أعمال المؤتمر كافة. وكما أشكر جميع الجهات واللجان المشاركة في إعداد المؤتمر وتنظيمه، والشكر كذلك موصول للجمعية العلمية لبحوث الإبل وتطويرها Isocard على دعمها للاستضافة، سائلين المولى الكريم التوفيق والسداد والنجاح لأعمال المؤتمر لتحقيق.
حضورنا الكريم، كلمة رئيس الجمعية العالمية لبحوث الإبل وتطويرها يلقيها سعادة الأستاذ رأفت الجاسم بالنيابة عن رئيس الجمعية العالمية لبحوث الإبل وتطويرها.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Good morning, everyone. Faisal, your talk was very nice. The Arabic was perfect. Enjoyed it. Your Excellency, the President of King Faisal University, representative of the Minister of Higher Education, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy as the Vice Chairman of Isocard to see that finally, after the break of COVID pandemic, it was possible to organize the 6th International Isocard Conference. Probably 2 years ago, if you talk about it, would have been just like a dream. Such event confirms that Isocard is nowadays clearly inscribed in the landscape of camelid research at the international level. This is also demonstrated by the number of scientists attending this meeting and participating in the activities of Isocard. I am certain that the future of Isocard is bright because of number of positive things happening within Isocard, especially the participation of young scientists. This is the new blood that gives Isocard the strength and the quality of research carried out by those scientists at the international level. I am also happy to be back here at Al-Hassa. Last time was here 2013, and we can see that lots of changes taking place in this region. It is very positive. Camels are important in Saudi Arabia as part of the Saudi heritage, and we're all aware of that, but also of a growing socioeconomic value due to the intensification and the new farms and new developments in the investment in this animal. It's also well known that camel research in Saudi Arabia is among the most advanced in the world. Anyone can go to the international database and search the literature, and they will find out that some of the excellent research is carried out in Saudi Arabia. That wouldn't have happened without the support from the university and the higher education authorities. It is something that requires leadership, and I think they're getting very good support. Camelids, like other livestock, face challenges due to climate change and modernization of farming. We're all aware of that. And the talk usually in Europe and the United States focus on other livestock, but in this dry and in the arid and semi-arid lands, regions, and in Africa, it's the camel that plays an important role and face the same challenges that faced by other livestock elsewhere. However, in the perspectives of the Year of Camelids decided by the United Nations in 2024, so next year gonna be the Year of Camelids, it is important to state that camelids are becoming increasingly important, and for many people consider it the animal for the future. In many parts of the world, of course. The growing number of publications in different fields of camelid sciences is a positive thing as well. That shows an increasing interest in camelid research and camelid development. These animals play an important role, and that is reflected by the research carried out in different parts of the world. Our society is doing a wonderful job, bringing scientists together from all around the world, exchanging ideas and disseminating knowledge. So, doing an excellent job. Interest in the development of camelid research and development, and the sort of new research areas developed in many countries, especially in the Gulf states around here, is an excellent thing that reflects that importance. I wish everyone attending or participating in this conference to have a very exciting 2-3 days and an opportunity to exchange ideas and exchange knowledge and develop collaboration. Collaboration is very important. We cannot do things in the same efficiency as individuals, as individual institutions or individual researchers, but we can do it if we collaborate with each other. I finally would like to draw your attention to the importance of publications, and because I'm the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Camelid Science, I encourage all researchers, all scientists who are doing research in camelids to contribute to this journal. Our journal is peer-refereed, indexed, and anyone can visit the website. It is have free access to the journal and can see the quality of the publications. Other journals in the same area has lost status, while ours gained a good status and the impact factor increased during the last 3 years. I encourage you all to support the journal, because this is the journal, this is our gate to the world and our opportunity to say that we are doing some good research. So I encourage you all to submit. Finally, I would like to thank you all. Thank you, King Faisal University, for the invitation, and thanks everybody for being here. Thank you.
أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، حضورنا الكريم، نشاهد الآن عرضاً مرئياً عن المؤتمر. أترككم مع العرض.
جامعة الملك فيصل، مدينة العلم في واحة الأحساء، مؤسسة حيوية محفزة لإثراء معرفة المستقبل وتنمية القدرات البشرية المنافسة. منذ تأسيسها تعمل كمحرك تنموي وشريك معرفة الرئيس في دعم القطاعات الحيوية محلياً وإقليمياً. تتفرد الجامعة باحتضانها لكلية الطب البيطري والجمعية الطبية البيطرية السعودية كروافد علمية رائدة تقدم الرعاية للأطباء البيطريين وتسعى لتطبيق أفضل الممارسات العلمية والعملية لخدمة صحة الإنسان والحيوان. تولي الجامعة اهتماماً كبيراً لتعزيز بحوث الإبل من خلال إنشاء مراكز أبحاث الإبل الفريد في المملكة العربية السعودية ودول الخليج العربي، منذ أن قامت بإنشاء المركز في عام 1983 للميلاد. 40 عاماً من التطور المستمر في مجال بحوث الإبل. دفعت الجامعة للحفاظ على تفردها في دعم مجال بحوث الإبل من خلال المشاركات البحثية المحلية والدولية، واحتضان المؤتمرات والندوات وورش العمل العلمية، وبالتعاون بين مركز أبحاث الإبل والجمعية الطبية البيطرية السعودية والجمعية العالمية لبحوث الإبل وتطويرها Isocard. تنظم الجامعة المؤتمر السادس للجمعية العلمية بعنوان دور الإبل في تحقيق الأمن الغذائي والتنمية الاقتصادية. ويهدف المؤتمر إلى تعزيز التعاون الدولي بين جميع المهتمين بالإبل من الأفراد والشركات والمؤسسات والجامعات والمراكز العلمية والبحثية لتطوير صناعة الإبل التي لها دور هام في تنمية الاقتصاد العالمي. نهج عالمي، خبرات أكاديمية رائدة، أبحاث علمية رائدة، وجهود حثيثة تبناها رموز العطاء والإبداع والابتكار، جنود خطوط الدفاع من كوادر الطب البيطري وجهاتها، انبثاقاً من رؤية المملكة 2030 للحفاظ على الصحة الواحدة والتصدي للأمراض الوبائية والفيروسية المشتركة بين الإنسان والحيوان، وتنمية الثروة الحيوانية، ومكافحة هدر وفقد الغذاء لتحقيق الأمن الغذائي والاستدامة البيئية والنمو والازدهار المحلي والعالمي.
حضورنا الكريم، جمعنا المبارك، كلمة مجموعة سلام البيطرية الراعي الماسي يلقيها سعادة الأستاذ فهاد بن سليمان الفهاد، رئيس مجلس إدارة مجموعة سلام البيطرية.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الذي أحسن كل شيء خلقه وأمرنا بالبحث والتفكر في بديع صنعه وعظمة التكوين، والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. صاحب المعالي، أصحاب السعادة، الأساتذة الكرام المشاركون والمشاركات، ضيوف المؤتمر الكرام، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. لقد خص الله سبحانه وتعالى الإبل من بين سائر مخلوقاته الحية، وقدم النظر إلى كيفية خلقها وجعله أسبق من التأمل في كيفية رفع السماوات ونصب الجبال وتسطيح الأرض، فقال في محكم تنزيله: أفلا ينظرون إلى الإبل كيف خلقت، وإلى السماء كيف رفعت، وإلى الجبال كيف نصبت، وإلى الأرض كيف سطحت. إن البحث العلمي صورة من صور التأمل والنظر في هذه المعجزات الكونية، وهو مدخل إلى الإيمان بقدرة الله وبديع صنعه. ومن التفكر في خلق الله إعمال البصر والعقل والقلب في إعجاز خلق الإبل. ويأتي هذا المؤتمر تذكيراً بأهمية الإبل التاريخية والثقافية باعتبارها من الموروث الوطني العريق المكون للهوية السعودية، وترسيخاً لدورها الحيوي في تعزيز الأمن الغذائي والنمو الاقتصادي، سعياً إلى تحقيق أهداف التنمية الوطنية المستدامة على ضوء رؤية المملكة 2030. إن من منطلق إيماننا العميق بأثر العلم والبحث العلمي في تقدم الأمم والنهوض بآمالها وطموحاتها، نعتز بالمشاركة في هذا المؤتمر وغيره من المؤتمرات والملتقيات البناءة، تأكيداً منا على أهمية تكامل الأدوار بين مؤسسات المجتمع بقطاعاته الحكومي والممثل بالجامعات، والقطاع الخاص الممثل بالمجموعات المعنية بالبحث العلمي مثل مجموعة سلام البيطرية، أو القطاع الثالث وما يضمه من الجمعيات الأهلية وغير الربحية. ودعما من مجموعتنا لجهود الدولة ووزارة التعليم في النهوض بحركة البحث العلمي وتشجيع الباحثين، يسعدنا الإعلان عن تخصيص مجموعة سلام جائزة تعنى بالبحث العلمي لعدة أفرع من فروع الطب البيطري. وفي امتداد لاهتمام المجموعة ومساهمتها في تعزيز دور البحث العلمي داخل المجموعة وخارجها، نعلن عن إنشاء شركة متخصصة في البحث العلمي تحت مسمى شركة التقنيات الحيوية للبحوث والدراسات، واستمراراً لنهج المجموعة الثابت في التعاون العلمي والبحثي مع الجامعات الإقليمية والعالمية في مجالات الأبحاث الطبية والبيطرية، بداية من العمل على وضع أدوية مخصصة للإبل عوضاً عن استخدام أدوية الحيوانات الأخرى لعلاج الإبل، وذلك بالتعاون مع مصانع الأدوية العالمية مثل فيرباك الفرنسية وزوفيت الأرجنتينية. كما تعكف المجموعة على 12 بحثاً من عدة جامعات أوروبية من إيطاليا وإسبانيا والبرتغال، وأهم هذه البحوث التعرف معملياً على عدة أدوية من خلال استخلاص مواد من أبوال الإبل ثبت استخدام لعلاج أورام السرطان والأمراض العصبية، حيث تم تحديد تحور شكل الخلية في بول الإبل وفي خلايا الكلى السرطانية وخلايا الكلى الطبيعية، إضافة إلى التعاون مع الوكالات والشركات العالمية لنقل مستجدات التقنية الطبية البيطرية إلى مملكتنا الحبيبة. كما أننا نفخر بالدور الريادي لمجموعة الفهاد القابضة وما تقدمه من مشروعات كبرى للاستثمار في هذا الموروث الأصيل وتنمية قطاع الإبل، حيث تعمل المجموعة على إنشاء مزارع نموذجية تضم 50,000 متن من الإبل لتزويد السوق السعودي بحليب الإبل ومشتقاته ولحوم الإبل ومنتجاتها. وفي ختام كلمتي هذه أتوجه بالشكر الجزيل لمعالي وزير التعليم الأستاذ يوسف البنيان، ومعالي رئيس جامعة الملك فيصل الدكتور محمد العوهلي، ورئيس المنظمة الدولية للإبل الشيخ فهد بن فلاح بن حثلين، على ما يولونه من اهتمام كبير بخدمة الموروث، مؤكدين على أن التعاون الفعال بين القطاع الجامعي والقطاع الخاص يمثل قوة علمية رائدة هدفها الارتقاء بالوطن وخدمة المجتمع لتحقيق تطلعات قيادتنا الحكيمة طموحاتها العظيمة، سائلين الله عز وجل أن يديم على وطننا الأمن والأمان والرخاء والازدهار. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
حضورنا الكريم، يتفضل الآن معالي رئيس جامعة الملك فيصل الدكتور محمد بن عبد العزيز العوهلي لتقديم كلمته.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أصحاب السعادة، أيها الحضور الكريم، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أما بعد، فكم يطيب لنا أن نرحب بكم جميعاً في افتتاحية المؤتمر السادس للجمعية الدولية لأبحاث وتنمية الإبل تحت شعار دور الإبل في الأمن الغذائي والنمو الاقتصادي، مثمنين لمعالي وزير التعليم الأستاذ يوسف بن عبد الله البنيان رعايته الكريمة لهذا المؤتمر النوعي، والتي تمثل امتداداً لما تقدمه الوزارة من رعاية ودعم مستمر لتحقيق تطلعات وتوجيهات التنمية الوطنية. ويأتي هذا الاحتفاء وهذا المؤتمر بعدما احتفلنا بالأمس بيوم العلم للمملكة العربية السعودية، الذي يمثل رسوخاً وعزاً وفخراً لبلادنا الغالية المملكة العربية السعودية، وما يحمله هذا العلم من دلالات وقيم لدولة ضربت في التاريخ. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يديم الأمن والأمان، وأن يحفظ لهذا البلاد قيادة وشعباً أمنها وأمانها بإذن الله تعالى. ينطلق هذا المؤتمر الذي تنظمه جامعة الملك فيصل ممثلة في الجمعية الطبية البيطرية السعودية ومركز أبحاث الإبل، استشعاراً منها لما تمثله الإبل في الجزيرة العربية من عمق تاريخي وتراث اقتصادي واجتماعي، حتى أصبحت ومنذ عقود محل الاهتمام العلمي والبحثي في الجامعة. وإن مما تعتز به جامعة الملك فيصل ريادتها وسبقها في إنشاء أول كلية في الطب البيطري، وكذلك أول مركز لأبحاث الإبل في المملكة العربية السعودية، واحتضانها للمستشفى البيطري التعليمي المتخصص في علاج الإبل، واستمرارها في تقديم عدد من المساهمات البحثية والتدريبية والتعليمية في كافة مجالات صحة وتنمية الثروة الإبلية، كما أنها ما تزال تسعى بكل إمكاناتها لتنمية ودعم البحوث العلمية في هذا المجال من خلال تبني مشروع التطوير العلمي على أساس المعايير العلمية والاعتماد الأكاديمي العالمي، مستمرة في هذا التركيز العلمي والبحثي ليمثل مساراً وتوجهاً نوعياً ضمن توجهات هوية الجامعة المؤسسية الرامية إلى تحقيق الأمن الغذائي والاستدامة البيئية. وأن رعاية ودعم البحث العلمي في كافة المجالات كان ولا يزال نهج قيادتنا الرشيدة أيدها الله، والذي يعكس حرصها على تعزيز دور المؤسسات الجامعية ومساهماتها في تنمية الاقتصاد المعرفي والتطور المجتمعي والإنساني المستدام تحقيقاً لأهداف رؤية المملكة 2030. وإننا لنأمل من خلال هذا المؤتمر أن تسهم في إبراز المكانة العلمية الدولية لعلوم الإبل وتنمية صناعة الإبل وتعزيز معايير الصحة العامة وتشجيع تبادل المعلومات حول الاهتمام بالإبل وتحقيق الاستثمار الأمثل والنهوض بواقع الثروة الحيوانية في المملكة العربية السعودية. وإن الجامعة تسعى إلى مزيد من التعاون والشراكة الفاعلة مع المؤسسات والمنظمات العلمية الرائدة لتشمل آفاقاً من التبادل العلمي والمعرفي والخبرات العلمية، فاحتضان الجامعة لهذا المجال ودعمها المتواصل للتطوير العلمي والتعليمي والمهني يجعلها أحد أبرز بيوت الخبرة في علوم دراسات الإبل، وقادرة بإذن الله تعالى على المشاركة في المبادرات الوطنية والإقليمية التي تعمل على تطوير مختلف الحقول العلمية في هذا المجال وتجاوز تحدياته. ختاماً، كم سعدت بالحضور والمشاركة معكم في هذا المؤتمر، وشاكراً لجميع الداعمين وعلى رأسهم مجموعة سلام لهذا المؤتمر، ومرحباً بضيوفنا الأكارم من داخل المملكة وخارجها، سائلين الله سبحانه وتعالى العلي القدير أن يكتب لأعمال هذا المؤتمر النجاح والتوفيق وتحقيق الأهداف المرجوة منه، مثمناً لجميع فرق العمل واللجان المنظمة جهودهم المتواصلة في نجاح إقامة هذا المؤتمر. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
حضورنا الكريم، فليتفضل معالي رئيس الجامعة وسعادة وكيل الجامعة للدراسات العليا والبحث العلمي وسعادة رئيس الجمعية الطبية البيطرية السعودية وسعادة رئيس اللجنة التنفيذية للمؤتمر على المسرح لتكريم رعاة الحفل والجهات المشاركة والمتحدثين. تكريم الرعاة: الراعي الماسي مجموعة سلام البيطرية، الراعي الفضي شركة سيفا، الراعي الأكاديمي كلية الطب البيطري بجامعة الملك فيصل، الراعي الإعلامي شركة فواصل للإنتاج الإعلامي المرئي والمسموع، أول شركة إعلامية استثمارية مملوكة لجامعة سعودية وهي جامعة الملك فيصل. فرع هيئة الصحفيين السعوديين بالأحساء، هيئة أبو ظبي للزراعة، مركز وقاء، مكتب وزارة البيئة والمياه والزراعة، أمانة محافظة الأحساء، شركة جوزلا التجارية، تكريم المتحدثين: دكتور رأفت جاسم، الأستاذ الدكتور صلاح بن عبد العزيز الشامي، الدكتور فيصل بن صالح المذن، الأستاذ الدكتور وائل أبو المكارم الديب، الأستاذ الدكتور محمد عصمة مصطفى، الأستاذ الدكتور عبد الملك إبراهيم فضل المولى، الأستاذ الدكتور مرزوق بن محمد العكنة، الدكتور طاهر كمال عثمان، الدكتور أحمد بن جعفر الجزار، الدكتور بربرة بادلينو، دكتور إيلينا، دكتور بيميلا برجر، دكتور بيتر ناجي، دكتور نزار أحمد، دكتور ديفيد مونكا، دكتور كارلوس، تكريم المشاركين في المؤتمر: المركز الجامعي للاتصال والإعلام، ويستلمه الدكتور عبد الرحمن الغنام. عمادة شؤون الطلاب، ويستلمه الدكتور محمد السبيعي. الجمعية الطبية البيطرية السعودية. مركز أبحاث الإبل. اللي هنا الاسم كارلوس. قلت خلاص باقي المعاني تكريم من اللجنة المنظمة للمؤتمر الدولي السادس لوكالة الجامعة للدراسات والبحث العلمي، ويستلمه وكيل الجامعة الدكتور ماجد الشمري. تكريم من اللجنة المنظمة للمؤتمر الدولي السادس لجامعة الملك فيصل، ويستلمه معالي الدكتور محمد بن عبد العزيز العوهلي. في الختام يتفضل معاليكم وصحبكم الكريم بافتتاح المعرض المصاحب للمؤتمر في عمادة شؤون الطلاب.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. In USA, they used to say that time is money. And our great professor, he reminds me, he said, time is just like a sword. So we will start right now. With the first speaker, the first distinguished speaker, Dr. Ra'fat Al-Jassim, the University of Queensland, Australia. The title would be The Current Knowledge of the Nutrient Requirements of the Arabian Camel. So we all ears, please.
Well, it's 10 to 12, so it's still good morning. Yeah. So can we wait or not? Start, okay. Orders. Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here. And when I was asked to talk in this conference, I thought what to talk about. And been talking for the last 20 years about microbial ecosystem and sequencing and identification of bacteria and interaction and all these things. So I thought, at the end when you present, someone will come and ask you, what shall I feed my camel? How much do I feed? Is this food is good? So it's the wider interest is not in the microbial ecosystem. This is limited interest to scientists, but the wider interest for farmers, for managers, is what to feed the animal. And I thought, before getting into what to feed the animal, you got to know the requirements of the animal. We have limited information about the requirements of our camels. So this is something I will shed some light onto today. So we talk about the current knowledge of the nutrient requirements. For those who do not know me, I am originally from Iraq, but in Australia now, at the University of Queensland. This is one of the G8 universities, top 40 universities in the world. Very promising in its teaching and research programs. And I retired from the university recently, joined Ramvit Pharmaceuticals. Ramvit is an equine company, so I'm helping them to develop the science behind the products they use. And recently, it seems like retirement doesn't suit me. Recently accepted position at Assari at the University of Mohammed VI in Morocco. So it's part-time position, but I'm quite happy with the conditions and will be helping them to establish a camel research unit and the nutrition lab over there to build collaboration at wider scale in that research center at Laayoun. So what I'm going to talk about today, the biological system. When we say the biological system, we talk about the animal system. And how much do we know about the camel? Some mysteries around the camels, but we are unlocking these mysteries one by one. And we're learning more about the camel system, the biological system, and that should be the first step toward investigating other aspects of nutrition, or physiology or the immune system. So it is the first thing trying to understand the biological system, and better understanding of the biological system will help you to manage the system. So what we need, some basic information, and basic information include nutrient requirements, productivity, microbial ecosystem, digestion and utilization of nutrients. And when we talk about digestion and utilization of nutrients in a well-known nutritional sciences, this is in nutrition. It is different than feeding, because in nutrition is digestion, absorption, and metabolism, while feeding relates to the quality of feed and designing of diets. And applied knowledge, I remember when I joined the University of Queensland in 2000, there was two options. Either you go in nutrition and the immune system, or you go in nutrition and the microbial ecosystem. That were the topics that attracts interest, and you can get some funding to do research. So in nutrition and the immune system, nutrition and gut microbiota and health, and the nutrition and the environment. This is equally important to focus on the environment as well, especially when the nutrition of the animal is manipulated and you feed the animal something different to what the animal evolved to digest or to utilize. So in simple terms, if you feed the animal concentrate diet, the digestive system is not suited for concentrate diet. So causes some troubles, and if you have acidosis, for example, you will develop an acid-resistant microorganisms similar to E. coli 0157H7. So this is when we talk about the environment. You shed these microbes into the environment, and what happened, my friend? Yeah. It will come. Yeah, so okay. So we're talking about current knowledge, nutrient requirements. How much do we know about the nutrient requirements of the camel? Of course, if you talk about cattle or sheep, other livestock like horses, you go to the feed tables and you go to the requirements and everything is there. You can design diet for a desired purpose, for desired level of production or performance, and it is there. But for the camel, we have some knowledge about energy requirements, but we need to subdivide that into energy for maintenance, energy for milk, then we get into protein for maintenance, and we have good information about selenium and vitamin E, and we have relatively good information about feed additives like the ionophores. So other than these, we really do not have much information. And often, the requirements for certain compounds, nutrients, is confused with tolerance. So the camel can tolerate high levels of things, and they consider that as requirements. So this is something that got to be taken into account. The 3 publications that you find in the database are useful for this kind of work. The first publication of Gurwali from Morocco and Wardi from Syria, published 1998. They used respiratory chambers to measure metabolism or basal metabolic rates in the camel. Then they managed to develop or estimate values for the efficiency at which energy is used for the different purposes. The nutrient requirements, the second one, nutrient requirements of this is an excellent piece of work by Muhammad Farid. He passed away, unfortunately. God bless him. So he passed away. That's an excellent work into energy and the protein. This is a PhD thesis. Then we have my paper that you can find online in this area. So we come into nutrients, into energy requirements. So we have maintenance. You need to measure fasting metabolism. That's the basal metabolic rate. Fasting metabolism, then you use the efficiency with which metabolizable energy is used to calculate maintenance requirements. Then for the production, you need to know the quality of the product, the quantity of the product, the energy value of the constituents of the products, and the efficiency with which energy is converted to products to calculate metabolizable energy. Any nutritionist should be able to do that. What you need to know when you get into the animal and design diets for the animal, you need to know the weight of the animal. Because the requirements, you have maintenance requirement, which is a function of body weight, then the production or performance. So if you don't have a good scale, many farms, they don't have scales to weigh the animals. You can follow measurements, do measurements, and estimate body weight. You can do it on live animal, and it is easy to find the equations. If anyone wants it, I can send it to them. You can estimate body weight with high level of accuracy and use that to design diets for the animal. So requirement is a function, basal requirement or maintenance requirement is a function of body weight. And this is the kind of relationship you get. And the efficiency with which metabolizable energy is used for maintenance is 73%. 73%, 72 to 70 something, so 73 on average, it's pretty good. So this is the equation we get, and we can use that to develop. And then when you have the basal and the metabolizable energy requirements, you can calculate the allowances. Allowances is a practical term you use in the farm. How much do you give your animal? Because we add safety margins to it. So it follows the same trend, but of course, different values. You can use different databases, you get the same relationship, because it is a statistical approach is the same, so you get the same relationship. And when you compare camels with cattle, the interesting thing that the requirements, the maintenance requirement for camels is much lower than that of cattle. This is an advantage because you save energy for camels. I don't know why the numerals turned like this, because this is not an Arabic numerals. But I don't know why. It must be the computer there. Okay, for energy requirement for a production, you need to know the energy value of the milk. For example, for production of milk, you need to know the energy value of milk. It is determined by the constituents of the milk, especially fat, because 1 kilogram of fat is 39 megajoule. 1 kilogram of protein is 24 megajoule, and 1 kilogram of carbohydrates is something like 17, 18 megajoules. So it's a big difference between fat and other constituents of milk. There is no energy in milk, in minerals and water. So you can calculate the energy value of the milk, then use KF for KL, the efficiency with which metabolizable energy is used for milk energy, that is 62%, then calculate the requirements for milk. When you can use different databases, but I suggest you use the publications by Peter Nagy, our friend. He had 2 publications, I think 2012 and 2000 something, one in ACTA and one in Dairy Science. He has good set of data that you can use to calculate the energy value of milk. But it's all can be calculated. It's all manageable mathematically, can be calculated and done. This is the data from Peter Nagy's publications, 2012 and 2017. I mean, I trust Peter. And you can see that when you use different milks with different fat contents, you get different energy value, then you get different requirements. So it is determined primarily by the energy value of the constituents and particularly fat. This is interesting. When you look at requirements for milk production and compare cow with camel, the energy requirement for milk production in cow is less than that in camel. That may indicate that the camel is not a dairy animal. The camel produces enough to support the offspring, can grow fast, to be independent, but the camel is not a dairy animal. The cow being selected, subject to selection for so many years for the production of milk, and that's why the cow is more efficient and utilize energy more efficiently to produce milk. Probably some other factors involved. We don't want to discuss it here, but this is the kind of picture you get. One important topic is conceptus nutrition, the nutrition of the embryo. And in camel is different than that in cattle. Simply, it is the gestation length. Gestation period is much longer in the camel, and at the end, you get an offspring the same weight as the calf from the cow. So you can easily calculate the daily gain and calculate the energy requirement for that daily gain for the fetus. Okay, so this is from Professor Alan Bell. He was the chairman for animal science department at Cornell University. Yeah, so our focus is at the last stage of a pregnancy, when the growth of the fetus is exponential. This is very important in the management, in the nutritional management of the camel. And what we have over here, that's example from Holstein cow. You can see that at 270 days versus 190 days, at 270 days, 56 of the uterine contents, the fluids and the contents and tissues and membranes, all is the fetus, while it's only 41 during 190 days. This should apply to the camel as well. And comparing the Holstein cow with the camel, you have birth weight is the same for the calf, but the gestation period is different, the daily gain is different, then the requirement is different. One thing to consider over here, that the efficiency with which metabolizable energy is converted to fetal energy is very low. It's only 13%. 13% of the energy will be converted into fetal energy. That is compared to 62% for milk and 73% for maintenance. So we talk about protein requirements, and this is very interesting. In the good old days, when I was doing my master's in the UK, 1970-something, that sounds very, very old. Okay, they used to tell us that the compartmental stomach is like a black box. We don't know what's happening down there, but we know the input and output. And later on, we started to unlock all these mysteries, and we know that a protein entering the compartmental stomach is divided into degradable and degradable. The microorganisms play an important role in breaking down the protein, converting amino acids into ammonia. So this is a wastage process, converting it into ammonia. Some of that ammonia will be converted into microbial protein. And together with the undegradable protein, they bypass the rumen and go to the intestine, where it is digested enzymatically and absorbed as amino acids. The fermentation process always associated with loss. Okay, remember that, whether the animal is digesting fiber or digesting a protein, associated with loss. There is lot of losses as ammonia absorbed into the bloodstream, to the liver, converted into urea, and excreted in urine. That's why sometimes it is beneficial to protect the protein, treated and protected, to bypass the rumen fermentation. But you have to keep the balance between microbial requirements and the animal requirements. And nowadays, the way we design our diets is, we know that the amino acid profile of the protein supplied, we know the degradability, we know how much of the degradable protein is converted to microbial protein, we know the amino acid profile of the microbial protein, we know the amino acid profile of the undegradable protein, we know the amino acid profile of the absorbed protein, and we know the amino acid profile of the protein supplied at the tissue level. This is very important. If you can incorporate all these factors into a model, then you will achieve the highest level of utilization of the protein. The highest level. The protein supplied at the tissue level should be as similar to the tissue protein as possible. It is, you work like a bucket theory for amino acid utilization. So this is one thing, and I want you to remember that it is only 14.9% of the protein supplied to the camel is retained in the body. There is so much wastage. This is the most wasteful single nutrient given to the animal. So lots of wastage over there. And we can calculate accordingly, we can calculate the crude protein requirements, and we have equations to do that. I just would like to touch on mineral requirements. And because we have some good data on minerals, selenium and vitamin E, and I was hoping that Gillian Skidmore is here, because we carried out 2 experiments in their farm, and we got some very interesting. This is, you look at the intestine of the camel. If there is mineral deficiency, that's what they do. They eat sand. And the sand ultimately blocks the intestine. So that's what you get. Give me just 5 minutes. I usually request 5 minutes for each 1,000 kilometers I travel. So coming from Australia, I still owe you some. So you see, the delay is not from me, it's your system. So over here, like giving camels injection, oral supplementation of vitamin E. And most of the time, nutritionists, they follow the umbrella sort of approach or style or methods. If the nutrient is not toxic to the animal and there is no risk, they give large amounts. It wouldn't hurt. But over here, you can see that, once you start supplementing on week 4, there is a slight increase. Then the different levels of vitamin E overlap. So honestly, you don't have to go into 720 international units per day. You can settle into the lowest level, the 240 international units, and that is adequate for the camel. This is adequate. You don't have to go into, vitamins are very expensive these days. And good quality vitamins are expensive. You look at selenium. Selenium follows very much the same trend. You don't have to go into very high level. There is some good data in the literature. You don't have to go into very high level. 1.6 milligram of selenium per day is adequate. So you don't have to go into 4, but unfortunately, at the journal, we're still getting papers from researchers. They use very high level, and they claim there should be benefits from those very high level of selenium. Selenium could be toxic to the animal. I know that the Food and FDA, the Food and Drug Administration in the United States, they decided 2 milligram per day. And that's crap, rubbish, because it's based on trials done on rats and mice and all these things. The camel is not a mice. The cow is not a mice. And the requirements and the tolerance is different. So you can go up to 4.8, but there is no need for that. The interesting thing that you see over here, on week 8, when we stopped the supplementation, selenium continued to increase in the blood. And this is very interesting. We're trying to develop a theory around this, our theory, our approach, and we're looking at taking holistic approach, looking at the different tissues and organs in the system. And of course, you find some fast, rapid loss of selenium organs where it accumulates, and some slow. So when you stop supplementation, the response comes from the rapid loss of selenium tissues and organs, releasing large quantities of selenium into the blood. So the level continue to rise. Very interesting stuff. The other issue that I wanted to touch on, thank you, is calcium. Calcium is, once again, it's been in the camel, they give such a high quantities, but we know that calcium and vitamin D, they work together. And calcium homeostasis is very important and regulated. So in an attempt to keep sort of a constant level of calcium in the blood. Okay, so it involves the liver, the kidney, where the dietary precursor for vitamin D is activated, first to 25-cholecalciferol, then 1,2-dihydroxycholecalciferol, where it's the active form of vitamin D, then it starts working, targeting the intestine and targeting the bones. Yeah. So targeting the intestines and targeting the bones. Where is it, the bones? Yeah. You see this? They give free minerals like that, just a free choice, the cafeteria style for camels in some parts of the world. And the camel has special taste for things, for bitter things, for salty things, so they might engorge themselves into eating larger quantities that could be harmful to the animal. I give you an example. If you looking at the milk fever, for example, I'm not sure if you get this a lot in camels, but it is important to consider dietary cation-anion difference. That is between the minerals, sodium, potassium, as versus chlorine and sulfur. So looking at those that create acidic conditions versus those that create alkaline conditions. Sodium and potassium create alkaline conditions in the body. And alkaline conditions in the body reduces the sensitivity of bones to parathyroid hormones. Parathyroid hormones is very important for the release of calcium from the bone when extra calcium is needed. So it is very important to formulate the diet with cation-anion difference is minus 100 milliequivalents. Very important to consider that in the diet. So, and in conclusion, I would tell you that camels has a lower metabolizable energy requirements for maintenance, have higher energy requirements for milk. Camels have lower selenium and vitamin E requirements, okay, than earlier thought. And camels are more efficient in recycling nitrogenous compounds. Recycling coming through, instead of going into urine and excreted, recycle coming through saliva and across the lining of the compartmental stomach. And camels have low capacity to retain supplied nitrogen. I think, you happy? Thank you. I think that's enough for today, but if you want any information regarding camel nutrition and requirements outside this, I'm happy to provide. If you have any questions, this is a good way of losing weight. You share your breakfast with a camel, and this camel is a beautiful one. Any questions? Yes, please. You do selection, intensive selections, then you select animals with high efficiency. High efficiency involves the utilization of energy. We have, for example, the beef cattle in Australia. We can select animals with high efficiency of conversion, that is converting nutrients to meat. We can select animals with lower methane emission. We can select animals for any traits. So it depends. It depends on the selection program you use. The genetic pool of the camel is small, relatively small, and hasn't been subjected to intensive selection programs. So it still falls within the category of survival. So the animal produce enough for survival. And animals that survives or produce for survival, they don't push themselves to the edge of sacrificing tissues. And a cow, if the cow is not getting enough, and during peak lactation, the cow got to lose weight. They can lose about 90 kilograms of their body weight during peak lactation, those dairy cows. And this 90 kilogram multiplied by 39 megajoule, it will give you about 500 to 600 kilogram milk. So even if you don't feed them enough, they withdraw energy from the body. And the efficiency with which body energy is utilized for milk is much higher, is 82%. So sometimes it's important to force them to lose weight for that purpose. Unfortunately, the camel hasn't been subjected to such programs and therefore is less efficient. Did I answer your question? Pleasure. Yes, my friend. I can't hear you.
Yes, we use the data from dairy cows or other ruminant. Thank you. Thank you.
The last question, please. The last.
Yeah. I would like to thank you for the presentation first. Second, I would like to ask you if you have an idea about the enzymatic equipment implicated in the metabolic process of camel, and if there is difference between with the other animals. Enzymatic equipment implicated in the metabolic process of camel. Enzymes like, for example, lipases, proteases, hydrolases, all of that, implicated in the metabolic process of camel. If they are the same or they have some specification.
In the past, we used to look at something like 60 different species. Now we're looking at hundreds of thousands using pyrosequencing and new generation sequencing. You look at them at the operational taxonomic units standard level, which is down to the species level. So the microbial community, they are different. Are they short of producing enzymes? No. They have very aggressive enzymes. Are they more efficient than the cow microbial community? No. Sometimes you read in the literature and they tell you the camel is more efficient and digests better and all these things. This is all crap. This is not, sometimes the camel retain digester longer. So it's not an issue of efficiency of digestion due to the microbial population, but they sit in the stomach longer. And when it sits in the stomach longer, very much like doing an in vitro trial, you incubate for 48 hours or 72 hours. Of course, when you go to 72 hours, you get higher digestibility or disappearance. So these are the issues. I don't think adding enzymes are proteins. Enzymes are proteins. You add them to the diet, they get into the digestive tract, they will be dealt with like any other protein. You know the microbes, how they digest? They secrete their enzymes, and the enzymes has to go through a layer of polysaccharides in the outside the skin of the microorganisms, the glycocalyx. And that is important for the stability of the enzyme. They establish the contact with the feed, then the enzyme will go through the glycocalyx into the substrate. If the enzyme is lost into the environment, enzymes are proteins. It will be denatured, it will be destroyed.
I would like to know if the same
They have the same what?
enzymatic properties. It means the KM and Vmax, the synetic properties are the same or different?
They have thousands and thousands of enzymes encoded by genes. And some of them, if you talk about xylanases and cellulases and the proteases, they are similar. They are similar. They attack the same substrate. They work in the same manner.
They can be similar in the structure, but in enzymatic activity, they can be different. Okay, based on the synetic properties, they can be different. The structure, it can be the same.
Yeah.
Because the same function. But the enzymatic properties, I think that they are different.
If the structure of the enzyme, you see, I teach this in the second week. If the structure of the enzyme is the same, and the folding is the same, and the active site is the same, they act in the same way. Because it is to do with the substrate enzyme activity. They have a specific activity towards certain substrates, and because of the active side, the shape of the active side, and the active terminals, they attack the substrate. But it's an interesting subject. It's not as simple as we describe it. But thank you very much for the...
Quite clear. Thank you so much, Dr. Rafat Al-Jassim, Queensland University. And I would like to thank him for his patience and keenness to convey the message successfully. Now, it's a coffee break. And now, we have 13 minutes from now to start with our coming distinguished speaker, inshallah. 30 minutes, 3-0. You could go from this door to save time for the coffee break and Zohar prayer. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
كل